You are far more powerful than you are willing to admit, and the tragedy of your life may be that you never find out. That's the brutal truth. Most people walk through this life like they are harmless, like they are meant to be soft, agreeable, and silent. They suppress their strength, avoid confrontation, and shrink themselves to fit the narrative of comfort. But make no mistake, inside you resides something terrifying, something formidable, potential so immense that if you dared to unlock even a fraction of it, you would not recognize yourself. Unleashing your inner power does not mean becoming dominant, aggressive, or reckless. It means voluntarily confronting your weaknesses, standing face to face with the dragon within you, not to destroy it, but to integrate it. Because the man who is capable of great violence but chooses peace is far more powerful than the man who is merely harmless. Power is not given. It is earned through responsibility, truth, and the pursuit of meaning. You must choose to shoulder the burden of your existence, to stop lying to yourself, to confront your suffering, to aim at the highest good you can conceive of, and to act in accordance with it. That's your task. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop blaming your past. Stop saying, "I'm not ready." You don't get to be ready. You get to decide. Step forward with everything you are. Face the chaos, bear the weight, speak the truth, and watch your soul begin to ignite. Because when you unleash your inner power, you don't just transform yourself, you transform the world. Here are 6 important key points. 1. You possess untapped potential. Most people underestimate their own capabilities. There is immense strength and potential within you that remains dormant until you confront it and choose to awaken it. Most people live their entire lives without ever discovering what they're truly capable of. They accept limitations imposed by fear, social expectations, and past failures. But deep within every individual lies untapped potential, raw, unrefined, and often buried beneath years of self-doubt and complacency. This potential isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It's something you uncover when you begin to challenge yourself deliberately and consistently. It requires an uncomfortable confrontation with your own inadequacies and the recognition that you are not yet what you could be. That realization can be terrifying because it reveals just how far you are from your ideal, but it's also liberating because it means you're not fixed. You're growing, evolving, and capable of becoming something much greater. The truth is, people fear their own power, because if you truly realized what was inside you, you would have no more excuses. You would no longer be able to blame others or circumstances or luck. You would have to face the fact that the life you're living is a reflection of the choices you've made and the effort you've withheld. That's a heavy responsibility, but it's also the gateway to freedom. You don't need to become someone else to change your life. You need to become more of who you are, refined by struggle, shaped by discipline, and sharpened by truth. Discovering your potential is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong pursuit. It begins the moment you decide that who you are today is not enough, and that you are willing to confront the pain of growth to find out who you could become. When you make that decision, you set the first spark. And over time, that spark becomes fire. That fire is your inner power, and it's waiting for you. 2. Power comes from voluntary responsibility. Real power is not about domination. It's about choosing to carry the burden of your own life. Accepting responsibility and seeking truth are foundational to personal strength. Real power does not come from force or control. It comes from willingly accepting responsibility. When you take ownership of your actions, your choices, and even your suffering, you begin to unlock a strength that is not dependent on external validation. Power, in its truest form, emerges when you decide to carry the burden of your own existence without complaint or avoidance. Most people try to escape responsibility because it is difficult. It demands discipline, sacrifice, and consistency, but it is exactly through that difficulty that strength is forged. When you voluntarily step into responsibility, you are not being crushed by the weight of life. You are being shaped by it. Responsibility forces you to confront the chaos of life and organize it into something meaningful. You become someone who can be relied upon, someone who creates order where there is disorder. That is not a small thing. That is the beginning of leadership. The moment you say, "I will handle it," you begin to separate yourself from those who are passive, reactive, and helpless. You begin to define yourself not by what happens to you, but by how you respond to what happens. This is the path toward inner authority. There is a profound dignity in carrying what is heavy, not because you are forced to, but because you choose to. That voluntary choice is what gives life purpose. It is also what reveals your inner power. When you act out of responsibility rather than resentment or fear, you become dangerous in the best possible way, capable, stable, and deeply rooted in something real. The more responsibility you carry, the more powerful you become, not because the weight is lighter, but because you become stronger. That's where your potential turns into character, and character is the foundation of all true power. 3. Harmlessness is not virtue. Being harmless isn't a sign of virtue. Being powerful and choosing to act ethically is. True strength is having the capacity for danger, but choosing self, control, and purpose. There's a dangerous misconception in today's world that being harmless is the same as being good, but harmlessness is not a virtue. It's a lack of ability to cause harm. A person who is incapable of being dangerous is not moral, they are simply weak. Real virtue comes from having the capacity for aggression, for power, for assertiveness, and choosing to restrain it. The man who has no claws is not peaceful, he is just defenseless. But the man who has claws and chooses not to use them unless necessary, that man is truly disciplined and truly good. He is not weak by default. He is strong by choice. Developing the capacity to be dangerous means confronting your darker impulses and integrating them, rather than pretending they don't exist. It means being honest about your capacity for anger, for strength, for dominance, and channeling those forces towards something meaningful. If you are not capable of standing up for yourself or protecting what matters, then your kindness is not a choice. It is a survival strategy, and strategies like that collapse under pressure. When you learn to develop strength to say no, to push back against what is wrong, you begin to understand the kind of person you must become to live with courage. You don't need to act aggressively to be powerful. You need to be someone who could act with force, but chooses not to because you are governed by principle, not impulse. That's what makes you trustworthy. That's what gives you moral authority. The world does not need more agreeable, silent people. It needs strong individuals who can wield their power responsibly, who can stand tall in the face of conflict and choose restraint, not because they are afraid, but because they are in control. That is real strength. 4. You must confront inner chaos. The path to unleashing power lies in facing your inner demons, your fear, doubt, pain, and failure, and integrating those parts of yourself to become whole and capable. Unlocking your inner power requires a direct confrontation with the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Everyone carries chaos within them, fears, insecurities, unresolved pain, and unacknowledged desires. Most people avoid these uncomfortable truths because facing them is painful, but avoiding that chaos only allows it to grow stronger in the dark, quietly influencing your actions, sabotaging your goals, and shaping your identity without your permission. The path to becoming powerful begins when you stop running and turn to face the storm inside. You must look at the parts of yourself that are weak, petty, jealous, or afraid, and instead of rejecting them, you begin to understand and integrate them. This process is not about perfection, it's about honesty. When you willingly explore your shadow, the side of you that's impulsive, angry, or cruel, you begin to see that those traits, when disciplined, can be transformed into something useful. Your aggression can become assertiveness, your fear can become caution, your pain can become empathy, but only if you face them with courage and refuse to lie to yourself. Chaos isn't the enemy, it's raw potential. And if you dare to confront it, you can begin to shape it into order. Growth demands discomfort. The more you confront your inner chaos, the more capable you become of facing external challenges. The man who knows himself deeply cannot be easily shaken. He's not pretending to be calm. He is calm because he has walked through the fire of confrontation and survived it. He knows what he's capable of, and because of that, he becomes dangerous in a controlled, disciplined way. Facing your chaos isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming someone who acts despite fear. That's where power lies, not in denial, but in the quiet, determined effort to transform what's dark into something noble. 5. Truth is the path to transformation. Avoiding lies to yourself and others is essential. Only through radical honesty can you build a foundation for real change and unlock your true potential. Truth is the foundation of real transformation. Without it, every change you attempt is built on a lie, and anything built on lies eventually collapses. People often deceive themselves, not because they are malicious, but because facing the truth can be painful. It reveals where you've fallen short, where you've betrayed your own values, where you've been passive when you should have acted. But if you want to become powerful, genuinely powerful, you must be willing to face that discomfort. You must become someone who tells the truth, first to yourself, and then to the world, no matter how inconvenient it may be. Lying, especially to yourself, is a form of psychological self-sabotage. It allows you to stay comfortable in your current state, even if that state is slowly destroying you. It tells you things like, "I'm doing my best," when deep down you know you're not. It tells you, "It's not my fault," when you've avoided responsibility. But the moment you decide to stop lying, everything begins to shift. You become grounded. You begin to see reality for what it is, not what you wish it were. And only when you see clearly can you act effectively. Truth has a cost. It requires sacrifice. It often demands that you let go of old habits, friendships, or illusions that have been keeping you weak. But what you gain in return is clarity, confidence, and a deep sense of alignment with your highest potential. You start speaking and acting in ways that are coherent, powerful, and rooted in something solid. That coherence is what gives your words weight. That integrity is what builds trust, both in yourself and in others. When you live in truth, you stop being fragile. You become dangerous, in the best and most necessary way. 6. Action precedes readiness. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. Power emerges when you act despite fear, confusion, or doubt. The decision to move forward is what fuels transformation. One of the most common traps people fall into is the belief that they must wait until they feel ready before they act. They postpone their goals, their responsibilities, their potential, telling themselves the time isn't right, that they need more confidence, more resources, more clarity, but that feeling of readiness rarely comes. If you wait for it, you may waste your entire life standing still, watching others move forward while you remain stuck in indecision. The truth is, action precedes readiness. You become capable by doing, not by thinking about doing. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. You don't need to feel brave to take the first step. You just need to take it. Progress is not a matter of perfect conditions. It's a matter of commitment. You don't wake up one day suddenly prepared to change your life. You decide that it's time, and then you act like it. That decision, made honestly and consistently, becomes the momentum that builds your inner power. With each action, even if small or imperfect, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. You begin to trust your ability to show up, adapt, and improve. This is where growth happens, not in hesitation, but in movement. Clarity comes from engagement, not avoidance. Confidence is earned through experience, not imagination. The discomfort you feel in the beginning is not a sign to stop. It's the sign you're exactly where you need to be. Most people never move because they wait for ideal circumstances, but the ones who rise are the ones who act anyway. They embrace the unknown, make mistakes, adjust, and keep going. That's how strength is forged. You don't get ready and then act, you act, and through that you become ready. Rules to transform your life in 2025, inspired by Jordan Peterson. Stand up straight and face the chaos, because order only comes to those who confront disorder. Speak the truth even when it hurts, and take responsibility for your life without resentment. Stop waiting for motivation, act now, and let purpose follow. Clean your room, start with what you can control. Aim high, pursue meaning over pleasure, and surround yourself with people who want the best for you. Discipline yourself so you can become dangerous in a noble way. Your future self is watching. Transform through courage, not comfort. 2025 won't change unless you do. Start now, fight forward,